Hi students, Dr. Newmark here. This is the video that accompanies your final assignment, your final major assignment, the white paper. Now, historically, this assignment has been worth 150 points in the English 2220 course. As I discussed with you all in an email last week, I'm going to be significantly decreasing the value of the assignment from 150 points to 50 points. I'm also turning this assignment into something that is much less research-based. In fact, you don't have to do any of your own original scholarly research for this assignment. You have already done an assignment that required you to do some secondary research examination and exploration of your own. So I'm not going to ask you to do it in this assignment. What I'm trying to do here is find ways to minimize workload in the last 4 weeks of the semester while still helping you to synthesize some of the key learning elements from our semester. So one of the big objectives of this course is to teach you about habits of mind and practices in the profession of technical and professional communication. And we've tried to achieve that in a variety of ways. You heard from some working practitioners. You've studied the genres that are frequently used in the workplace. You've studied some job ads in this field. So what we're going to do as this final assignment is I'm going to have you read 5 white papers, and then you're going to choose 2 to discuss. So instead of creating your own white paper, you're going to be looking at several and then writing a pretty low stakes memo or creating a video or creating a PowerPoint presentation where you leverage your knowledge of best communication practices in the field to create something concise and powerful to share with me your insights about one of these white papers. Now, there has been an explosion of new white papers on the topic that everyone's concerned about right now, which is COVID-19. So I've pulled 5 recent white papers and I'd like you to look at them. And so I'm going to stop this part of the video and I'm going to move to the next part in which I'll show you the assignment itself and I will show you those white papers. So without further ado, here we go to that next part. Okay, so here's what your assignment prompt looks like. You see the new title and the draft due date and the final version due date. So we're still several weeks away from the final version due date. You'll also notice that the point value has been decreased significantly. This assignment historically has been worth 150 points, but now, because I'm really trying to shift things to a place where you guys have less work in the coming weeks, this is only worth 50 points. So if you read this assignment in all of its details, you will see that I am asking you to, like my previous students, learn about the genre of white papers, but the difference is you're not creating one yourself, rather you are reading some recently released white papers about the current pandemic, COVID-19, and you are analyzing them. So in providing me some kind of output that measures or gauges your analytical capabilities regarding this genre, I will still be able to teach you the material concerning white papers. However, in the past, I've asked my students to do their own pretty robust amount of secondary research concerning a genre of technical communication and writing a white paper about that. You do not have to do secondary research in scholarly journals or anything like that. You have proven in previous assignments that you've been able to do that. You've also proven that you understand the sorts of professions, professional situations that technical writers find themselves in by looking at job ads like we did in the first assignment. And you've also shown that you are conversant with data visualization skills. So that's all going to come together to inform this analytical assignment. So without further ado, I'm just going to scroll through the assignment, highlighting a few key things, and then you can read all the details on your own. So in the assignment, I call your attention to some sort of definitional qualities of white papers. In week 13 in our class, if you go to that, you'll see that I have a bunch of other resources there as well that educate you about the parameters of white paper. It's a pretty capacious genre, as you'll see in the examples that I share. So the main thing that you probably want to know about is, what do I have to produce for this assignment? Well, you have to produce a 2-page memorandum or a 10-slide narrated PowerPoint or a 3 to 5 minute video discussion with multimodal elements. So a screen recording with multiple kinds of content, or a recording of yourself with text on screen, interspersed still slides, data visualizations, whatever it is. I leave the modality up to you, whether you want to do text-based memorandum, whether you want to do a PowerPoint with narration or a video, that's up to you. What you're basically doing in this assignment is you are visiting these 5 websites that I link you to at the end. These are all recently released white papers by various health policy institutes, think tanks, and companies that have felt the need to prepare some kind of response for their constituencies concerning the coronavirus pandemic. These organizations have different readerships, different audiences, and so you'll see in looking over these 5 examples that while a white paper generally appeals to an audience of non-experts, you have to take that a bit loosely, because you'll see that that varies across these white papers. So after perusing 5 of them, I want you to pick 2 into which you're going to do a deep dive. You're going to look at the data visualizations they use, you're going to look at their structure, you're going to look at the ways that they reflect some of the most important principles of technical and professional communication that you've learned about this semester, whether it was from the practitioners who visited our class, I guess remotely, digitally, or from some of the reading that you did in the textbook, or from other assignments. You are going to speak to me in whatever modality you choose of the 3 choices about how these 2 white papers you've chosen really exemplify those qualities. So I'm going to show you these examples quickly before I sign off here. So this example comes from Mitre, I don't know how you say this company name, but this is a not too long, 9-page long white paper. And you can see that it has some of the qualities of effective technical communication that we have studied. It uses glyphs, your bullet points. This is basically a call-out box that has the key conclusions that they want people to notice. It uses text emphasis with bolding. It uses white space effectively. It uses headings really powerfully. And the headings are not only visually distinctive, but they are phrased in such a way as to make them noticeable. Quickly, I'm going to turn to this next one, which looks more like a glossy sort of brochure or document by Cardno. And on the assignment, you'll see that I've provided you some information about each of these companies or organizations. You'll see that in this one, they use primary headings and secondary headings with a numerical structure. As in the last example, you'll see that they're using glyphs. This one does not have any data visualizations as the previous one did, but it has some other qualities that are different. This next one is from the Duke Margolis Center for Health Policy. This one looks more like a document that you might type up in Word or something like that, but nevertheless, I'd like you to test it through the framework of white paper that you will have read about by the end of week 13 to test whether you think this is satisfactory, whether it's excellent, whether it excels in some ways. But if you scroll through it, you'll see that it is clearly structured in a way that it is trying to share really crucial information in an unmistakable fashion. So this next one, you'll have to click the link here to see the white paper, but this is from the Society for Maternal Fetal Medicine. And the final example is from Harvard University's Center for Ethics. And this one, when I look at it, it has some clear visual opportunities for tightening and improvement, but nevertheless, you do see that it is using secondary source citations to provide ethos for the document, a nice structure with multiple sections, This is more of a dense read, and so this would lead you to ask questions about who their audience is. So now that you've seen the 5 examples that you have to choose from, with which I want you to become familiar, I hope you have a better sense of both the pertinence of this assignment for the sort of broad, large-scale cultural crisis we're in right now, and the relevance of this assignment to what we've been studying this semester. So I'm really excited to see what you all do with this. The grading for the assignment is quite loose. You'll see here, I'm not going to be using a very strict analytic rubric like I usually do. Again, this is worth 50 points. A third of those points are allocated for effort, a third for comprehensiveness, persuasiveness of analysis, discussion, and information design, and a third for employment of key terms from the course. I hope this all makes sense to you and is clear, and I look forward to answering your questions in the coming week.